fans, welcome back to the F1 Masters broadcast brought to you by AUBG Daily. Here I am, Harry, David, and today we'll recap the 2026 Japanese Grand Prix. Gentlemen?
Alright, first off, we can start with practice. I'll just mention that Jack Crawford participated in FP1 instead of Fernando Alonso. Because also Alonso missed media duties because he finally has a child, like 44 years of age. So congrats, Fernando. And otherwise, pretty much McLaren and Alpine showed promising pace in practice, and nothing else really was interesting. So we can move on to qualifying.
In qualifying, we had quite a shock actually. Oliver Bearman was out in Q1. This was, I would say, the only notable thing. In Q2, we had Max Verstappen not making it into Q3, which was quite a surprise, even if the Red Bull's kind of off pace. But generally, the pace was pretty similar up and down the field. We saw the same contenders in Q3. Kimi Antonelli got another pole position ahead of George Russell. But the McLarens were in the mix. Piastri was P3, Norris P5, both each ahead of a Ferrari. So they were showing some promising pace. And Pierre Gasly, best of the rest, in P7.
And moving on to the race itself, Kimi Antonelli won it, which is pretty impressive in my opinion because he's 2 out of 3. And before the start of the season, we were thinking that George Russell, if Mercedes have the best car, then George Russell is like absolutely 100% sure that he's going to win the title. But we see that Kimi Antonelli in his second season is putting a lot of pressure on him. After that, Oscar Piastri, Charles Leclerc. But about the race, they were like probably the two most notable things: the safety car and the race start. And we see for a third race in a row that the race start is probably the most entertaining part of the whole race, because Mercedes, it is obvious that they have the fastest car of all, but their starts are really poor. And we saw it, like both Mercedes dropped after the start, and Kimi Antonelli even was sixth, I think, after the first lap, which is something really interesting. And I don't know whether they can work it out in the continuity of the season.
Yeah, and I thought it was like an engine thing, but McLaren also have a Mercedes engine. They got off the line perfectly fine. They got it like as quick as the Ferraris, which was crazy because the Ferraris were considered to have by far the best starts. But Antonelli specifically also had like much worse start than George Russell. He could not get going at all, and this is third race in a row this is happening, and this is honestly the only reason I feel like their race wins have been under threat, because if that Mercedes starts and stays first, no one's catching up to them in the clean air. They are absolutely unstoppable, as we saw with Kimi Antonelli after the safety car.
But something strange is that the reaction time of both drivers are not bad. It is just that the race start, they haven't figured it out.
Yeah, maybe there is some problem with the traction when the car accelerates. I don't know. They'll probably work on this during the 1 month break that we are going to have between Japan and Miami. But but also as you mentioned, when they are in clean air, they're really fast. But we also saw that when Russell was behind other cars, he couldn't really overtake them very easily. So maybe the Mercedes cannot deal really good with the dirty air. So this is also something that they need to work on, even though they probably have to completely change aerodynamics and the concept. So
we'll see. And talking about 1 month of work between this Grand Prix and the next one, Red Bull.
Yeah, Red Bulls actually, they had a battle like Hadjar and Verstappen, which was pretty eventful to watch. So Vasco, we can reflect on that.
It was, if it was for first, second or third, it would have been pretty entertaining to watch. But right now, things are not looking good. The only bright side is that Hadjar is looking he's looking more comfortable in the car. But this race was really not the best for him. The good thing is that he is doing great in quali. He's doing better than Verstappen in quali since the start of the season. But I'm not sure how to feel about Red Bull this season. I feel like there is First of all, it was obvious the engine is that they would try and improve it throughout the season and develop it in the upcoming 1 or 2 years and make it competitive to the rest of the leading teams. But as it stands right now, the whole dynamic of the team is looking really poor, and the environment in the team is not really the happiest. And we saw some comments from Verstappen like during the weekend that he may even consider retiring. I personally prefer not to believe this, but I am sure that if Max gets like really annoyed, I'm like 100% sure that he would go away from the sport and never come back. So in general, things are not looking good for Red Bull. We saw Hajar was out of the points. Verstappen was like for 1,000 millions of laps he was behind Gasly, and he was in the window. He was like half a second behind him for like 20-25 laps, and he couldn't overtake him. So I don't know what they should, like how they're planning to improve that car, but like serious measures are needed before the Miami Grand Prix.
Yeah, it was quite surprising to see Max Verstappen not get past Pierre Gasly. They were very evenly matched on pace, and he was actually lucky with the safety car that it even like closed him into Gasly, because Gasly actually had a gap on him, but even still he couldn't get the move done. Yeah, big issues for Red Bull if Max Verstappen decides to retire, but I mean, considering the current F1 cars, I don't think Verstappen has any plans to keep driving them. And it's not even just from like a perspective of he's not winning anymore, but these cars are generally so strange that it's no one can understand them even still 3 races in. So yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that. But I do think even if Verstappen retires, if they change the regulations, he could probably come back. He could do like a sabbatical, kind of like Kimi Räikkönen when he left to do rally driving.
Also Fernando Alonso maybe.
Fernando Alonso did the same thing as well. So
We'll see, but in general, there is even bigger issue. Even though we know that Max Verstappen is the poster boy of F1, but there is a bigger issue with the fans, and from comments from people that I talk with about F1, actually nobody is happy with the regulations, and I don't know what FIA is going to do, but like not the fans, it is not the teams, it is not the drivers, it is nobody that is happy with the regulations so far. Even the winning teams are not happy with the regulations, which is really strange and can put a serious question mark over the people who are in charge of the FIA, because currently things are not looking good in general for the sport.
Yeah, we also saw that the fans had their say on social media, and for example on X, like people wrote comments about the regulations, and F1, the official account, even like hid some of the comments, like they just did not show them. So, kind of censorship going on as well. But yeah, also I wanted to mention like a specific problem of these regulations, that the battles are like, most of the battles are entirely dependent on battery depletion. And we saw, for example, when driver overtook someone in the chicane, and then the other driver who they overtook just used the overtake modes and depleted their battery as well, and they overtook them back on the straight. So pretty much the chicane overtake did not work at all. So
It's funny because they removed DRS, and I expected like much more natural racing, and now like this overtake mode is
it is looking more artificial than ever.
Stronger than DRS ever was. So I think they should totally remove this, honestly, and if both drivers have the same amount of energy, I think that at least the balance will allow it to be close racing and not like this. It literally looks like some kind of turbo boost, like you're playing a game and you pick up like an item that gives you additional speed. I mean, they compare it to Mario Kart all the time, but it was also quite funny to see Jack Black there as a member of the Mario cast. So
yeah, and also the mushrooms joke, like we hear it all the time. Sergio Perez, Oscar Piastri, a few people mentioned that it's like the mushroom from Mario Kart.
Yeah, indeed. And talking about energy and power, going to the second important moment of the race and what actually decided the outcome of the race, the Oliver Bearman crash, and which is also something caused by the new cars, by probably not even engineers fully understanding the regulations and the cars, and that thing causing what happened to Oliver Bearman and his crash, which was really helpful to Kimi, who didn't have the best start as we were talking, but he didn't pit. He didn't pit before the safety car, and when he managed to pit, he actually that is what won him the race.
Yeah, and we haven't talked about him yet, but Oscar Piastri, he took the lead in turn one, and like he was really fast. Like he was turning the pole away from Russell, which I don't think anyone expected. That McLaren was very, very fast, and I really thought Piastri was gonna win that race if it hadn't been for that safety car. Generally, I think his strategy was kind of terrible. I don't understand why they picked him so early when he had good pace, comfortably in the lead and clean air, and they pit him, and he goes into traffic. Like he came out just behind Gasly and Verstappen, and he had to overtake them. Like regardless of the safety car, this is like a, I don't know, fundamental strategy blunder, because what are they trying to undercut there in the lead? They shouldn't be going for the early stop, but yeah, that ended up costing them the race. Although even after the restart, still impressive that he not only held off George Russell, but George Russell really struggled and got overtaken by the Ferraris. And especially like, even though we talked about how the overtakes are very strange maybe, but Charles Leclerc's overtake into turn one on George Russell was phenomenal on the second to last lap. So
I agree.
that was a great way to end the final podium spot. But yeah, George Russell, very strange. He also had that issue where his car just, I thought like he had like an engine failure or something at one point, where Charles Leclerc just like went by him right before Spoon. Like he was driving so slowly. It was extremely strange. But George Russell, I think he had a terrible weekend, like one of his worst I've seen in a while.
He may be crumbling under the pressure.
Yeah, even though I don't know what kind of pressure you have to have when your teammate is 19 years old, but here we are. Yeah,
We'll see, but also not a lot of other interesting things. Shout out Pierre Gasly, by the way, 7th, and I think that my prediction about him being best of the rest would turn out to be true, because he is. I really like him. He's one of the better pilots on the grid. Also, one of Aston Martin's managed to finish the race. Exceptional.
Not in last place.
Yeah, not even on the second to last place, and. The last thing that I think is important to talk about, like outcomes and what is happening after this race, is that Kimi Antonelli actually proved that even though this is his second season, he's a championship material. And do you think that if we consider that Mercedes and their cars are going to be the fastest till the end of the season, do you think that Kimi has a shot at the title, and how do you evaluate it? Like, I don't know, on the scale of 1 to 10, how possible is this?
Well, it depends on whether he'll have like a mid-season slump similar to Oscar Piastri, or like maybe like even a latter part of the season, because also we saw last year that Kimi is not really consistent yet. Maybe this is going to change, but from 1 to 10, I would say like maybe a 7, let's say. So
because I think, I don't remember who said it before the start of the season, but actually drivers with less experience are benefited better from the new regulations, because they have their, let's say Fernando Alonso or Lewis, they have been for Fernando for 20 plus years in the sport and Lewis for 19 years, and they have gone through regulations but nothing like this, and I feel like it is much harder to adapt to such regulations, and that is why I actually am impressed from the young drivers this season, because we have seen we have seen not only Antonelli, but we also see Lindblad. I think he has been pretty good so far throughout the season. Also, we have Bortoleto and Bearman who are regularly good. So I feel like these new regulations, even though they're, in my opinion, really, really bad, but still they help young drivers to have better shots at wins, at better performances in general.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. What else we can say is Lewis Hamilton also had benefited from the safety car. He was up to fourth and actually up to third after he overtook Russell at the restart, but he strangely had like no pace, and even though he was on the freshest tires, it seemed like his tires wore out the quickest, and he struggled a lot. And Charles overtook him, and then eventually Russell overtook him, and he held off Lando for quite a while, but they fell off from the others, but eventually got overtaken from him as well. Quite a 2025 performance from Lewis this weekend, honestly. Like, his first two races.
Not his best week.
His first two races were very strong, but this one, he kind of seemed nowhere the whole weekend, and even after some safety car help, he still finished worst of the best, so I don't know. Slightly concerning. I mean, Ferrari still have a pretty good car and have a good amount of points, but a bit of nervousness now with McLaren getting comfortably into the fight in the front of the field.
McLaren gave Ferrari 2 races, so that after that they can catch up.
Yeah, they gave him a head start.
And I guess that's about the race.
Maybe we can mention like who also took points. So other than Gasly and Verstappen, it was Liam Lawson and Esteban Ocon, who actually was running in front of Oliver Bearman even before the crash. So it was I think.
Yeah, he was ahead of him.
Yeah.
From qualifying.
Yeah, so good weekend for Ocon. He's finally bouncing back somehow because he was nowhere in the last few races last year. I mean,
Also, I think Liam Lawson, like, he should get praised more. I think he's doing a great job and getting a lot of good points from actually difficult starting positions. He doesn't even start in the top 10, but makes up a lot of positions and does pretty good strategies. And yeah, I think credit for him. He's only 2 points behind Max Verstappen, which I don't think anyone expected to see. So yeah, that was pretty much it. And from a drivers' championship, obviously Kimi Antonelli took the lead in the championship now, 72 points to George Russell's 63,
which is his racing number. In fact,
the youngest ever driver, I think, to top the world championship.
True.
Yeah, and also apart from that, Oscar Piastri with his first race finish has gone up to 6th in the championship after his result. Shame he didn't get the win. He was honestly my driver of the day. I thought he was. I think he actually was voted as well driver of the day.
I think so. Yeah.
He was very, very good. Unfortunate safety car, but was never under pressure from anyone. So, major props to him.
Just to mention, Max Verstappen is P9 in the championship.
And also Red Bull is...
I don't think he cares that much at this point.
Yeah.
Red Bull is 6th in the constructors.
They're in the midfield fight,
but
really.
From 4th to 7th, it's a 4-point gap actually. It's extremely close right now. But
it has only been 3 races, so...
True.
But only 3 races, but I mean, if we ignore Red Bull, who we assume should get into that top 4 eventually, between Haas and Alpine, who are you liking more out of the best of the rest so far?
That depends a lot, because before the start of the season I was thinking Alpine mainly because of the car, but I feel like some circuits are better for one of the cars and some for the other, but I feel like this is going to go down to their pilots, and I feel like Gasly is the best out of all 4 pilots, but I feel like the combination of Ocon and Bearman can take more points throughout the season, because I'm not the biggest I'm not the biggest fan of Franco Colapinto, and I don't really think that he would get a lot of points till the end of the season. So that is why I feel like if everything goes the way it has been going so far, I feel like Haas can take that championship position.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like Haas are more likely to make it.
Mm-hmm. yeah, it's quite competitive, and I think though Pierre Gasly he can get a lot of points just by himself, which might be a big factor. And development wise, I think Alpine have more resources, so they should have an edge in that aspect. But I do like for Haas more as a team.
And they have the better engine as well. So okay, I think we can go to surprises, disappointments, highlights.
Okay. So for highlight of the weekend, I have Oliver Bearman's crash as already mentioned and safety concerns because as we saw, the difference in the speed between the two cars was I think at least 50 kilometers per hour, which is a lot. So F1 is probably going to work on this during the 1 month break, and we hope that solutions are found because safety is really important.
Yeah, my highlight of the weekend is how much I don't like these cars. I mean, I was confused. Like, I remember watching Australian, like, I was like, okay, that was interesting. That was an
eventful
experience. But now I'm just like 3 races in and I'm trying to get used to it and I still can't. And I just think that like qualifying has absolutely been ruined. I cannot stand watching qualifying because it does not matter what you do in the corners. Like you can have the most amazing lap. If you run out of battery, your lap is over without like any driver error, which is totally what defeats the purpose of qualifying when it's supposed to be the drivers on the edge trying to maximize the most out of every corner and every inch and every tenth. And they don't do that anymore, and all the results are the same. Absolutely ruins it. I think the races are more interesting than qualifying for sure, unlike last year. But the cars are too rely too much on batteries rather than the other parts of the car. Because aerodynamically, I think actually they're great regulations, but the fundamental issue with the battery is ruining the sport and completely transforming motorsport compared to any other racing series that does not behave in such a way. Like even Formula E, I feel like has somehow more natural racing than this, which is kind of crazy to say.
Absolutely, and I agree. This is my highlight as well. That in general, these cars, these new regulations are terrible. They just don't feel right, and as we were talking about, this is going to be harmful for the sport if they don't find a way to make it, how to make it watchable.
Fair, yeah. Moving on to surprise and disappointments. For me, the surprise was Oscar Piastri because, as we know, this was the first race this year that he actually started, and he performed like amazingly. It was really strong. He was leading for around half the race, so really, really good job. And disappointment, Franco Colapinto. I mean, he was nowhere to be seen, pretty much somewhere in the midfield compared to Pierre Gasly.
He was running around in my dreams. he won the race.
Yeah, at least he won in someone's dreams, so that's something to take like after this horrible weekend.
My surprise also Oscar Piastri. I guess I was surprised because I hadn't seen him race yet, but I know that Piastri is a fantastic driver. I'm glad that he, proved it that he's still really good. Absolutely dominated Lando Norris, and had no trouble whatsoever at the front. The safety car screwed him, but still a very important result to get his season underway. My disappointment, George Russell. Considering his experience, this is the guy that should win the championship this year. And, these races are embarrassing, honestly, in the way he complained to his team, Kimi's gonna do it, Kimi's gonna do the restart, how we practiced. I'm like, focus on your own restart because, why are you so worried about that?
I don't know if you think the same, but this guy is he's a great driver, of course, but he's really unlikable. I'm every time that I hear him speak or I don't know, have an argument with somebody, and I'm like, why is this guy so annoying? Both him and Lando. They're just I cannot even if they pay me money, I don't think I would manage to like them someday.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, that's my disappointment. So George, lock in.
Maybe because they're British.
The British bias.
He's a Wolves fan, which may explain some things. But yeah, for me, I'll be quick. Surprise, Pierre Gasly. I'm not surprised that Pierre Gasly is that good, but I was really surprised how he managed to hold Verstappen, and actually P7 really impressive in my opinion. And my disappointment, Red Bull. Enough said. Let's move on.
Okay, reactions to predictions now. I had one correct. I said Piastri is going to finish in the top 6. Pretty nice because he hasn't started the race, so I'll take it. And I said 3 DNFs. We didn't mention Lance Stroll DNFs, so I was close. They were 2, but yeah, I wish me better luck next time. And my predictions for Miami. First one, Mercedes to have less than 1/10 advantage in quali, which may sound like a bold one, but I feel like the gap may kind of close somehow, we'll see. And second one, Williams to get points, which they're kind of far from achieving that right now, but I don't know, some chaos may happen or just Carlos Sainz locking in, we'll see.
I know they got points in China, but oh my god, they literally did a testing session with Alex Albon. They pit him like 5 times. I don't know if you guys realized. Crazy.
It's just that my hope lies within Carlos Sainz, I guess.
My predictions, I was 2 for 2. I can't believe it, but I feel like I'm being very good at predictions this year.
Actually,
but I said that not.
I don't know what you were talking about.
We'll get on to your predictions. My first prediction was that it won't be a Mercedes 1-2. It wasn't somehow. And my second one was no DNSs, and I couldn't believe every single car actually started the race when I swear in China like 4 or 5 didn't even get to the grid.
5, yeah, right?
Yep.
Which is ridiculous, so I'm taking that.
Yeah.
And my predictions for Miami is that Kimi Antonelli will DNF. He's bound to have a bad weekend, and I feel like now is the time. The other one, Max Verstappen will finish in front of Lewis Hamilton. I know the Red Bull's bad, but I feel like this is a track that Lewis would be awful at, so I see the potential in Max getting a result in front of Hamilton.
And for my predictions, I continue the bad trend with like whatever I say, the exact opposite thing happens, and I don't know, I should use that, I don't know, with gambling or whatever to at least make some money from my bad predictions, because I predicted George Russell to win a Grand Slam. He didn't win the qualifying session. He was not even on the podium, and which is like, who?
Not even the fastest lap.
Yeah, who would have guessed before the start of the race that George is not even going to be on the podium? Like nobody. And what was my other one?
Rather podium.
Even better. Nailed it, of course.
Even Hedger points wouldn't
Actually.
Like crazy, yeah. I don't know. The next time I should say the two Mercedeses are not going to collide with the 2 Ferraris at the start of the race. No, whatever. I've never been good with Formula 1 predictions, so for 3-4 years, I think our audience have already understood it. But we try. So that is why I would use another strategy this week. My first prediction is that Lionel Messi is going to be in the pit lane. And now imagine Cristiano Ronaldo being in the pit lane.
Or Neymar.
You're gonna delegate like Rodrigo de Paul.
Yeah, the bodyguard.
It's disgusting. And I don't know, imagine Leo Messi and Franco Colapinto just sitting there chatting in Spanish.
Yeah, drinking some matcha or something.
Or, yes, something like that. And my other prediction is absolutely random. It was just the first thing that popped at the top of my head. And this is that the 2 Haas cars are going to crash with each other.
Not a great home race for them, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And none of these things is going to happen, so I think we can move on.
By the way, I just realized this is going to be the first home race for Cadillac, which is random. But yeah.
Also,
Interesting.
first sprint race with the new regulations. So.
Wait, no, didn't we have?
Oh no, we had one.
We had in China.
already.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Okay. Anyway.
Today is not the day.
Yeah.
I guess. So,
That's it, right?
yeah.
Yeah, this is all for today from us. We're looking for.
The whole episode is just one big blooper.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank
pretty
you. Thank
much.
you for joining us, guys. We're looking forward to the next episode. Till then, like, subscribe, and follow us in AUBG Daily on Instagram and Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel and like for more content. And stay tuned. And thank you. And remember,
If you no longer go for a gap that exists,
You're no longer a racing driver.